Mortise and tenons are recognized as the gold standard in joinery. It's the most common and one of the strongest, dating back thousands of years. In 2007, Festool introduced a new joinery tool called the Domino Joiner. It has become in the woodworking world a game changer for those that use it. Dominoes are as strong as mortise and tenons, but can be cut in a fraction of the time thanks to an oscillating and rotating cutter. Here I'm using a domino to join a frame butt joint. After milling up my stock, I mark the faces and put the two pieces together and mark a line across the joint for the domino. I measure the thickness of my stock, and the domino needs to be about 1/3, just like a traditional mortise and tenon. So I choose a 6mm by 40mm domino. Yes, Festool dominoes are all metric. So I have to set the depth of cut at 20mm, or half of the length of the domino, by using the setting on the side. I then set the height using this setting and lock it down. I check the height so that I'm centered on the workpiece. This setting adjusts the width of the mortise, and I want it on the narrowest setting. To do that, the machine has to be running. I clamp down my workpiece so it's off the edge of the table, and I line up the mark on the domino with the mark on my workpiece, and then I make the cut. I clamp down the other piece, making sure it's again off the workbench. That's very important, otherwise the base plate of the domino will bottom out and your mortise will be in the wrong place. In this case, I need a little more support, so I put a support piece behind, and it's important to push down on the front handle of the domino. I'm going to make this mortise a little wider to give me some room for adjustment. I keep a bag of dominoes that are sanded down for test fits. This looks good. Notice the adjusting room because of the wider mortise I made. Here's a final look with it clamped up with the real domino in it. Everything is flush, top and sides. Here I'm going to do a miter with double dominoes. I move my fence to 45 degrees, and then I set it to the lowest setting so it doesn't go through the miter. I lay out my joint by putting 2 dominoes, which is actually a lot for this small joint, side by side, and then I mark the center line. I'm not going to use the wider mortise in this case because I don't have enough material to work with. I clamp down my workpiece, and as I get ready to make my cut, I get concerned about blowing through the other side of the mortise, as you can see here. So what you can do is set the depth setting for less so you don't go through the piece, and you cut the domino itself to a shorter length on a bandsaw. These miter cuts are tricky. You have to make sure you use a light touch to make sure the domino is settled in at the right angle. Practice helps. I soon realized why the joint's not going together. I hadn't cut off my dominoes. Back at the joint, I put in the new dominoes and the joint goes together well. In this example, we're going to install a rail into a side panel using a domino. How do you do that? It all revolves around a common reference surface. So we make a mark on each piece. The common reference surface for the domino is the bottom plate. That's what we're going to use. The common reference point on the pieces is marked like this by squaring the line across the top of the mark on the panel and then clamping a board in place to reference against. So now we have a common reference point for the base plate of the domino to register against. So I don't blow through the panel with my mortise, I set the depth to 15 millimeters because the panel is 3/4 inch. And I use the narrow mortise setting. For the rail, the common reference point is the bottom of the domino and the bottom of the rail. The solution is to put both reference points on the tabletop. To cut the mortise in the rail, I have to carry my reference mark around to the other side. Before I make the cut, I have to change my depth setting to 25. My side panel cut was 15 plus 25 is 40, the length of my domino. It looks good with my dry fit domino. And it's a perfect fit with the real domino. Here we're going to do a corner case butt joint using dominoes. First we lay the panels down and make our reference marks. The base plate of the domino is again our reference surface, and that references against the back corner of our case piece. I put on some reference marks to get my head around it and realized that we need to put a stop piece on the back of the bottom panel. We then carry our marks up to the top of the stop piece. Here we set our depth stop so we don't go through the panel. This just proves that you learn something every day when you do woodworking. I never realized this before, but if the height stop is all the way down, the little tabs that act as end stops do not go all the way in flush with the plate. If you raise it up a little bit, they do. How about that? I put in the dominoes, and what do you know? It's a perfect fit, and it's flush. We're going to make ourselves a double bridle. This is a beautiful joint that works great for a lot of different types of furniture, and it's very strong, and it's equivalent to a mortise and tenon, but it can be seen. It's very attractive. I use a divider to get 5 equal spaces and then mark lines along those marks. I also put pencil marks for the material that needs to be removed. I then set my marking gauge to the thickness of the material and scribe both ends. At the table saw, I put in a dado blade because it has a flat top, which is what I need for this. You don't need to buy a special blade if you have a dado set. A neat trick to figure out where the center of your arbor is and top of blade is to put a marker line across your faceplate. Mine was worn off, so I just darkened it a little bit. I then raise the blade up to the depth of the cut that I need. Then I lined up the piece that had a center mortise to be removed. And I took a little bit starting on the inside, flipped it around, and did the other side, which keeps the cut centered. I continued to nibble it away until I got an approximate mortise the width of the lines on the piece. I then took the other piece and cut out the 2 mortises, flipping the piece to keep the mortises centered. The goal here is to continue nibbling away until that center tenon fits the center mortise. Bingo! We're there. Now you take the 2 tenon piece and start nibbling away from the outside in, turning as you go to keep them equal until it fits the other piece. Check the fit frequently so you don't go over with the micrometer. This was not too difficult to do, and with a shoulder plane and some paring, you can get it to fit really good.